Um, I awoke with a sense of energy and a kind of a feeling to scan myself and to check around my body and my head, and just to see where things were, if there were any um, activities of information or activities of organization that were not organic to me or my state of consciousness. And so I looked around, and with the sensation of my crown chakra, or the crown area, and down into my left eye, I looked at the etheric level, and I visualized, I saw, I experienced, I felt a layer of information organization that was not organic to me. From what I could tell, it was an artificial intelligence overlay, and it had very much to do with being a relay mechanism back to artificial intelligence that allowed my brain to be scanned, my imagination to be captured, and my privacy obviously to be invaded. And it was more that than any form of mind control per se. So I very delicately began to kind of place that information organization into a bubble of light, and I began to kind of roll it up, peel it back, almost like layers of gold foil or silver foil. And it was structured, though. It was etheric. It had grid lines in addition to a sense of being a kind of foil that I could gently, very gently roll up. So I rolled these layers of foil up into layers, and one layer at a time, going very slowly and very carefully. And then as I began to do that, I began to feel other places in my body where this organization or structure was reaching into to collect information. So it was also into my left ear and into my left eye, and one location in my spine. And so I just gently rolled all those things, gathered them up, and put them in the bubble. And the energy of this material then began to kind of get a sense that something was going on, and it started to push back a little bit, but it wasn't able to do all that much. And so I just kept gathering and putting it in the bubble, and then waiting and getting quiet, and then gathering and putting up the bubble, and then waiting and getting quiet. And then eventually I could sense that I had gathered up all the parts and bits, and it was now in a bubble. And then I very carefully began to flame it, to destroy it with a quality of light. And I flamed it and destroyed it. And then, as I continued with this process, I realized that I could track where this overlay had originated. But first I sent the overlay out of I gently lifted it with light, moved it out of my personal energy field. And then once I got it out of my personal energy field, it was in the transpersonal part of my energy field. And then my meta being provided the remote viewing information on where this organization of material had originated. And it was a rather large group of people, but the first person that I could see was Ray Kurzweil. And so a number of people around him and with him. So continuing to use the process in light, I began to disrupt the energy of that group of people, and I began to dissolve it, and repeating that there was no consent. They did not have my permission to invade my privacy. They did not have permission to capture my imagination. They did not have my permission to use my physical body to retrieve information about the three-dimensional world that they could not somehow get for themselves in an organic way. So I did that, and then as I was doing this, I experienced lots of energy coming into both my personal and transpersonal energy field, and in a way that grew me bigger. And when it grew me bigger, I was able to really kind of see Ray Kurzweil up close. And then I was really able to do a very deliberate dissolving of him and his cohorts at the planetary level of my field. So we went from personal to transpersonal to planetary. And dissolve that energy, dissolve that group of people. There was some resistance, but at that point I was so much bigger. My energy field was so much bigger that there wasn't much they could do. And then we dissolved that, and that energy was not transmuted or sent back to source. That energy was simply disintegrated. And then I felt another whoosh of energy roll in, and I wasn't sure where it was coming from or what it was meant to do. So I felt it. It felt organic. It felt pleasant. It felt like it was bringing me energy that I had been missing for the last week, which I appreciated. But I'll tell you, these days one is suspicious of everything, and one has to have discernment and kind of test everything. So I hung out with that energy. I had a conversation with it. I expressed that I do not give my privacy away, and that I do not allow anything into any of my energy bodies that are not organic, related to the planet, and coming from planet Gaia Sophia herself and her intention, and coming from the intention of Prime Creator, that this simply is not allowed in any of my energy bodies or any of my energy fields. So then I was able to just kind of relax and drift off into sleep. Now, last night I after watching some of the debate and literally being so turned off that I turned it off, the debate between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I then very carefully followed my own advice, and I turned off all of my digital Wi-Fi devices before going to sleep. I also turned the radio volume down, and for years I had kept the radio on every night because I was in such a state of being alone 6 days out of 7 that I didn't want to lose my familiarity with the sound of the human voice, and I didn't want to inadvertently set my neurological system up for Alzheimer's because of lack of sensory input. But last night I turned the radio down as well, and so the house, my place where I live, was completely energy silent from artificial energy input. And last week I had turned off the plug where my big screen TV and my DVD, all those things are plugged into one outlet over my fireplace. I turned that switch off because I don't use that equipment every day. So last night I really got an excellent night's rest, and I feel that the exercise of this morning of sensing into my personal and then my transpersonal and then my planetary body energy field was a fruitful exercise, and it's one in a continuum of exercises that I feel we have to do as we wake up so that we can begin to mitigate the intentional intrusion and damage that is being caused by artificial intelligence. So I've had a really good night's sleep. I went back to sleep, and I didn't even get up and make coffee. I just didn't want to disturb the process that was going on. And then I slept, so I didn't wake up until 11 o'clock this morning. I don't have any major plans for the day. It's a beautiful day, so I'm going to have some coffee. I'm going to get dressed, and I'm going to go and sit outside in the beautiful day. And I wanted to record this and include it as an audio post on the Living Lessons website, because this is the kind of thing that I think people need to understand can happen once they awaken, and they can undertake the doing of it one by one by one. And that's how we have transformed ourselves, one bit of unconscious material at a time, healing one past life at a time, healing one organ system at a time, cleaning out one thought at a time. And so I feel that we're just growing to scale where we can take on these other issues, one issue at a time, and that we'll be empowered. We are empowered to use our personal, transpersonal, and planetary bodies and energy fields to now do this work in the same way that our personal body took up and agreed to do the work of generating a transpersonal body. So I think that's it for today. I'm going to go have my coffee and wet my whistle, but I wanted to record this because I will want to share it as part of the co-creation masterclass.